Some people say it's the program, but it's not the program because you don't see anything. It's the visuals, but the visuals can't exist without the program. So my idea is, if you take ice, water and steam, so I see the digital art as having different states, like the program, the outcome, and the programmer even, they are different states of the same thing. I'm Manfred Mohr. I was born in Pforzheim, Germany in 1938. I went to art school and then I got a scholarship for a foreign country, so I moved to Spain. So in 1961 I went to Spain and stayed there for 2 years. And then I moved to Paris. I stayed there 20 years. And then I moved to New York, where I am now, and Tribeca. I come from a family where all my brothers, everybody played an instrument. Music was always my basic interest, in a sense. That abstract world of music formed my whole thinking. The space of sound and the abstract world of composition. Before I was playing clarinet and oboe in classical music, I learned saxophone. And I got into jazz music, and that reinforced my abstract thinking of improvisation. And I went to art school, and I sort of became more and more interested in doing something quietly at home instead of being in a nightclub playing. And slowly the graphic took over, and my interest in music stayed, but it became like theoretical. Like that's why my work is like visual music. I still play the music, but you don't hear it, you see it. I had this teacher, Professor Buchleiter. He was playing piano too. So he started playing on the piano and said, don't listen to what I play, look at the hammers, play the hammers. And that's how my visual art school started. Or even the exam for the art school was the most fantastic thing. There was a black bag, you had to put your hand in there and feel the objects. And you had like 5 minutes or something, 10 minute time. You have to choose an object and then examine this without knowing what it is. And then you had to draw it. That was the first test of your visual imagination, And I got into this abstract world of knowing that you have to create your own world, That's why I got into the visuals. I was suddenly, by the early 60s, hit with a complete different world. I read a book about, from Professor Max Bense. He wrote about art, not from the stomach, like expression, but up here from the brain. It talked about a rational art. I made maybe with a ruler, a straight line. The procedure is rational, but not the content. And I was looking, how could the content get rational? And even though my work became more and more geometric, it was still a surrealistic sort of geometry. It's only when I met in 1967, I lived then in Paris, a composer who wrote computer music. It was Pierre Barbeau. We later became very good friends. But he explained to me what he's doing, that if you want to get content in your work, you have to write the logic down and make a program. And then you can make combinatorial things and whatever. And that hit me again, exactly that's what I want to do. And so on, slowly I got into this kind of systematic thinking and programming. But I still didn't have a computer, nor a drawing machine. It was all theoretical at the time. And then I saw at the meteorology in Paris, they had a table to draw the weather, the weather map. And I saw again, that's the machine I need. The basic idea was for me then to create something out of a rational logic, which is not visual, which becomes visual, is my art. But I have to say that at the beginning, you see, you always have to start somewhere. So my music background was heavy, floating on top of that, in the sense that my first programs I wrote were all linear, like scores, music scores, and there I was very comfortable with, because I know how it sounds, you know. So I could judge it that's visually interesting because it sounds good. And on that moment I made a movie, it's one of the early computer movies, about a cube where I take lines away and see when does the three-dimensionality disappear. You know, but it didn't disappear because we are already so conditioned in our knowledge that if you see one line turning in space, you still feel the space. It's the ambiguity of these lines of the cube which make a form, and that's interesting for me. I am a pupil of Marshall McLuhan, you know, the Canadian philosopher, who says that any machine is an extension of you. So I feel until today that whatever you use as a machine is part of you, if you use it for your benefit, you know. The computer can do which I can only imagine, you know. When you draw, you might not like a 30-degree angle. So in your drawings, you will never draw 30-degree angles. So if you would use a computer who allows 30-degree angles, it would appear sometimes a 30-degree angle, and that makes you richer in a sense. The computer enriches your imagination. You block yourself sometimes on doing things because you think that's, I don't know, that's not me or something, but it is you. This is your decision to write a program which reflects your thinking, and that's the, I don't want to say the genius, but it's the idea of finding your expression in programming. What do you want to do, you know? I'm not a teacher, you know? I don't teach something that you have to do this and that. I just leave it open, you know? But I really show an order, and if this order corresponds to his order or her order, they can talk to each other. You know, I didn't want to make music. I wanted to make a visual music where you go forward, back, whatever you want to do. So that program was very significant for me, that it's linear, but it's not linear. It goes forward, back until it reaches finally the other side. But that was a thing, for example, which was very important to me. There are different views of the world, you know, and art as an expression of a person gets pulled into all sorts of directions, you know. It has a reflection of the world. It explains the world not with scientific words, but it explains an aesthetic, humanistic expression, how the world functions, you know. And you only can understand it through art. If art expresses how the world feels at this moment and tomorrow at that moment, and that can't be political, that has to be basic human expression and intelligence slowly getting more and more important. Art is something which helps you to live.